Welcome to the Remote Career Revolution Roundtable, where we are asking the remote work pros to share their inside information and experiences with you. And if you're ready to leave that soul-crushing grind and work in an environment that fuels your passion, then stay right here because we are answering all the questions that you've been asking over the past couple weeks so you can learn how to pivot into a remote or a hybrid role. I'm Tammy Alvarez and the creator of the Career Winners Circle, where we empower business leaders to make a big impact and love every Monday morning again. And I am so excited to have two of my favorite people here to share their secrets and their inside information with you. We have Cynthia Beauchamp, who's a senior audit analyst at Axicom Consulting, and Phil Dixon, the vice president of customer and team success at Enjoy Global. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I am loving this conversation. So one of the questions, we always know that things don't go as planned. And some of the best stories and some of the funniest stories come from when things don't go as planned. So what I'm curious to find out is, what is an unexpected challenge that you came up with and how did you resolve it? So Phil, why don't you share with us one of your experiences?
Yeah, for me, it was the beginning when I transferred over to working in this remote, and it was I felt kind of rudderless at times, and I was not. It was so easy for me as soon as the family left, and then I was left to my own devices. I didn't have a lot of structure. I was consulting, and so my schedule was not like locked in all the time. And I felt like I was getting distracted, and then I was kind of lonely, to be honest. I was like, oh, and so and then all the things that I was worried about that were kind of in the back of my head. Am I going to be able to get advancement because I'm not connected to the people? And for me, I'm a very, very social person. So part of work for me is the connection with other people. And so that was going on. I was watching, a Netflix show, or I was going for a walk, but then like not with any purpose, not like exercising, just like because I couldn't get my structure down. So I was like, I got to fix this. So my job description changed a little bit. I got to the company that I'm at now, and it was a little more structured schedule wise. So that really helped me. Like I realized, okay, I need to have a schedule. For me, it's 8 to 5. Or 8 to 4-ish is like my thing. And that works for me usually pretty well. So I needed a structure for my time. And then I also needed to make sure I was like preparing for work and getting ready for work. That was how I resolved it, because I just go in and I'd be like, all right, everybody left, I'm in my coffee and I'm at work. Like for me, that was like, I can't do that. And that's been one of the biggest pieces of advice that I've given to people who've asked me about it, is like, you can't, at least for me, I don't think you can go from, morning routine, whatever, coffee, breakfast, whatever, exercise straight into working out without for me having that routine of like, I'm going to take a shower, brush my teeth, comb my hair, put on a shirt, at least that I might be wearing the sweatpants below, but I'm at least putting on the shirt that's going to make me look professional. And I needed that for me to give myself that structure. And that was the big deal for me, that really turned the tide for me to get me focused and set, and like you said in the previous session, sometimes I'm not on all the time, but it's in spurts, and I know how to handle that with my structure now, rather than being like rudderless, throughout the day.
That's awesome. Yeah. So and that's a perfect point, right? Because we're so used to people being around. Mm-hmm. And, I think we fill the day when we're around people with not working, which is fine. Sure. That's part of the experience. But then when you don't have that, there's like, well, now what am I supposed to do? Right.
Yeah,
so,
right.
So that makes a lot of sense. And Cynthia, how about you?
Well, for me, it was more of a challenge of my clients thinking I was just available at the drop of a hat. I would get random phone calls in the middle of me trying to balance like, 3 different spreadsheets that I'm like doing, I do a lot of telecommunication analytical work. And I was like, I can't pick up the phone. I can't just grab that phone call just at random. So I had to kind of train my client to, either call me during certain times or schedule a meeting, or we would schedule a weekly meeting to but these random questions just kept hitting me. Like that phone call would come in and I'd have to start from scratch all over with my spreadsheets. And I was like, how am I going to deal with this situation? So I said, hey, can you go ahead and just send me a quick text message that you needed to chat with me, and so I can wrap up what I'm trying to do right now. And then we can, I can engage a little bit better, because literally I was on the fly. Like, it's kind of like, pull me on this direction. I don't know what I'm doing. So that was one of the challenges that I had to kind of wrap my arms around. And the next one is when you're working remote from distance wise, you do have internet issues, which is inevitable, right? I don't have I have technical skills, but I can't fix the internet being out. Well, I was on a call with my client and a lawyer, and we were negotiating some things that I wanted credit on. And my call, I just dropped, my internet dropped, and I texted my client saying, hey, I dropped. Well, apparently the lawyer got dropped at the same time that I got dropped, which is interesting because I didn't realize that. We both came on, and she came on before I did and said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and take care of this. I need to drop for another call. I came in and my client said, Cynthia, I don't know how you did this. I don't know if you timed that drop, but they're giving us full credit for what you're asking. And I went, well, just give me a lawyer and I'll deal with all that stuff.
I have the superpowers to take down the internet at the perfect.
I don't know what happened, but so that's always a challenge. So
yeah, absolutely. And you touched on something that I hear a lot, and that's boundaries. Right. And I think one of the biggest challenges that I hear a lot of my clients struggle with is when to turn it off, because you're not leaving the office anymore and you're not closing the door or there's not a routine that says I'm done working.
Mm-hmm.
And
right, you're in the office. Yeah, you're in the office and you take lunch, you're away. Nobody's they look in your office and it's obvious you're away. They're not going to call you. Well, they could, but it's different. It's totally
they could probably
dynamic.
wait another 45 minutes, right? But it's that act of walking out of the office. It's that act of maybe stopping for a martini in my case, or taking the subway home or whatever that basically signals I'm done. And we don't have that when you're in remote work. So I would encourage you to try and find an I'm done routine. And, a good example is, my partner, thank goodness, he's very, very technically savvy. So Cynthia, I've got like 3 different internet services at the house, right? So I can flip on a dime if I need to. But, he's created it to where I can't back up my system unless I actually log off. And so that act of logging off is like, that's my signal. I'm done. I'm done for the day. And plus logging back on is just too much of a pain, right? So I'm like, oh, it'll wait till tomorrow. So I would encourage you, as you're trying to get those remote roles, to start to think about what routines are you going to put in place to say you're done. And to Phil's point earlier, I'm starting, right? In terms of, and there have been days where I'm like, did I brush my teeth? So I totally know where you are with that. Okay, great. Thank you so much for your feedback on this. I know we've got one more question, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about it. So tune in for next time.